Comics.fm. Once again on the air with me is Nate Nelson. Nate and I go way back. We're going to get into all that. We're also going to talk about Bug Wars today, one of my favorite new comics of 2025. I almost said 2024. Is it like still weird that we're almost in April and I'm still saying last year?
Yeah, I don't know what year it is. It's the end of the world, right?
Well, not only do we not know what year it is, but my buddy Bobby said the other day how as you get older, it feels like stuff from a long time ago was only a couple of years ago. I posted that Rob Van Dam picture. He was like, that was like 5 years ago, right? I'm like, no, dude, that was 25 years ago, actually.
Yeah, everything's at least a decade for me. I was like, oh, that was, wow.
Yeah, the 90s were 3 months ago, right? Is that how that works?
Absolutely. Grunge is still a thing.
Grunge is still, well, yeah, I mean, basically wearing flannels and not showering's never not been a thing for us, at least, you know. So Nate is I would say one of my first radio people I became friends with when I got into radio. I didn't do it when I was super young. Nate, when did you we went to Illinois Center for Broadcasting, now Illinois Media School. How old were you when you went to that?
My late 20s, like pushing 30. Yeah.
Okay. So what year were you born?
78.
Okay, I was 77. So yeah, you and I we're in this media school where it's people that, I mean, it's half of them they went to real college and then like said, I'm not doing that. And then the other half were like, I'm going to be the next Howard Stern. And then you and I, a little bit older, we're kind of like, hey, just everybody keep it real. And you and I mean, very rare breeds with us because you and I both got hired at a radio station before we graduated school.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy. That never happens.
Yeah. And well, I mean, one of the DJs at the station that was also a student and later became a teacher.
Yeah.
Danielle Tofano.
That's right. Yep. I got to get her on this show, by the way. So I'm glad you gave her a shout out because now I have a reason to tag her and now she's going to feel obligated. It's like one of those in the old days, you do like the ice bucket challenge. Like now she's obligated. She's got to be on the show that you mentioned
right.
her.
It's the 2025 version of a chain letter.
That's right. Exactly. Do this or else bad things will happen. Danielle was a teacher when you were there?
She wasn't a teacher while I was a student. I know
she went there. That's right.
Yeah, she went there and she would come in and do like guest speaking.
That's right. Yeah. So Nate and I were at Illinois Center for Broadcasting in 2007. And we're both like, listen, we need to do something different with our careers. We want to do something fun and interesting and all of that. And I'm going to ask you, Nate, like I was trying to be like relatively cool and normal in class, but I took everything seriously because I'm like, this is like a chance at something. And a lot of people were goofing around. Did you take this media school seriously?
Yeah. I mean, I cut out a lot of concert going. It was like, I never missed a class. I was always on time. Like,
okay.
Cause that was the incentive because I wanted that because they gave that incentive at the end of your class session, you know, whoever had the most hours, you know.
Yeah. It was an award, right?
Yeah, it was an award.
Did you win it?
I did.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, pretty cool. It's like on one hand, it's cool to win an award. On the other hand, you look at like who we were up against, and there was a lot of delinquents in our classes.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like anything. You get what you put in, and I want to say that the younger people in our class, they were just that. They were like kind of a couple of years out of high school and didn't really know what they wanted to do, and it was just they saw it as a place to just kind of goof off
or a quick path to, I mean, I had some people in my classes that literally thought, I don't need to learn anything technical. Just give me a microphone. I could talk about sports every day, 4 hours a day. Yeah, a lot of guys can. Now, can you talk about sports for 4 hours when nothing happened in the sports world? Now we're talking about it. And oh yeah, exactly. But a lot of it was people like God's gift to broadcasting. And a lot of humbling for a lot of people because I don't think a lot of people that went to that school ended up working in radio. They did it. They graduated. A lot of them didn't take a real internship. You and I both interned. We'll talk about where we worked, but we interned there first at 95.9 The River in Aurora, Illinois. You and I both interned there, both got hired there. You got hired first, so congrats to you on that. You beat me on that one.
I don't remember it that way. I remember you getting hired first.
I remember it that way because I was real jealous. Well, then it was like, okay, I got hired for promotions assistant, and you got hired for producer. I'm like, okay,
yeah, it was because I was still interning. You got hired as promotions assistant. I was like, man, I'm just an intern now.
Yeah, no, you got the morning show. You got the big gig. We're in this school, and we also had radio shows on the college station too. And I remember I had my ramp radio show with Stacy in my class. It was rock, alternative metal, punk. You had the show before us. And I remember we'd get there early and you always had some like cool, like creepy kind of goth music. You got like Sheriff Scabs playing in there cranked up. And I'm like, man, I like this guy. He's got some cool music.
Yeah. Because, I guess different places I've lived I wasn't exposed until later in life to like industrial music and like, the goth wave. And I was like, I need to get this out to the masses. And so that was my way to do it.
I thought it was great. I love that. I mean, it was great because I would listen. I mean, I didn't listen to anybody else's show except for ours and yours. And I was like, because it was cool music. Why not? And so I knew when you get a goth kind of creepy dude that a Bug Wars kind of comic would be perfect for you. And when you and we got hired at the River and you became the morning show producer, but then you were featured on the show as like on-air talent, right? With Scott. Because you guys had banter back and forth, right?
Yeah. I was kind of doing a little bit of everything in the morning, but if there was nothing, like no other guests, and I was just there to bounce stuff off of. On the weekends, I did have my own shift. Yeah. It started overnight, and then I was essentially in the mornings, like from 6 to 10 in the morning.
I think we each had a morning show. I think you were probably like Saturday morning. I was Sunday morning. And you start off just filling in. Here's one positive thing. So when we got into the radio world, they were starting to downsize and big radio companies started to buy things up. And the positive, everyone's like, oh, we're losing our jobs. The positive for newcomers, we get to worm our way on the air because Scott has no co-host. So, I need somebody to talk to. Give me the producer. Normally, you'd be in a little glass case and you would never see a microphone, Yeah,
absolutely. So very grateful for that opportunity in and of itself. And then, having Scott even, going out to these promotional events with him or in lieu of him on a couple of occasions. And that was just like, oh, big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Well, and you became known because that show was a big deal. And even though it was suburban Chicago, but the signal of the River was really good. I mean, it was hitting Naperville, Aurora, DuPage County. It went probably farther than any other next media station. So the River was kind of like the crown jewel of the next media stations out there, even though the facility at the time wasn't so great. It didn't look like a crown jewel. We didn't work in a crown jewel. But on Theater of the Mind, what went inside people's ears was like, oh my God. And Scott was a Chicago talent on the Kevin Matthews show. And so, I'm sure you learned a lot from him.
Absolutely. And that whole experience, just, being a sponge in that station. And it's like, okay, I want to learn how to do this. Just ask and having the opportunity, which is very grateful because I remember talking to some other people in our classes at the time, and they were just kind of getting like, oh, go fill my coffee, scrub the toilets type of thing.
Yeah, a lot of the interns, they wanted to work at downtown stations, and it's like, I know it looks cool on a resume, but if you're not doing anything, you're not learning anything. If you're not learning anything, nobody's going to want you. You and I were like, no, why don't we go to one of these kind of in our backyard? And would you know it, we find our way, onto the radio pretty quickly, even before graduating, which I still think that's a great feat,
It was just an amazing time. Kind of really sparked my whole passion for being in entertainment. I mean, to really realize, oh, I can have a job and have fun at it instead of just going to a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Well, you before radio, you had a stint as a professional wrestler, right?
Yes, I have trained as a professional wrestler. Yes.
What was your name?
Dante Dread.
Dante Dread, which became your online name, I remember.
Yes.
Did you use that on the radio at all or no?
No.
No, you were like, I got to keep it clean for all the Naperville moms. I'm just going to be Nate.
Right, yeah.
You can't scare off those Naperville moms at all. What's really funny is at the last place I worked, there was another wrestler that was on the air as well. It's a thing. And then in Colorado, there's a guy named Danger Dean, wrestler on the air. Here in Des Moines is Jeremy Hall, wrestler on the air. What is it about radio and wrestling? Is it because everything's a work? Is that like the mentality? Like, wrestling and radio is very similar?
I never really thought about it until just now, but yeah. And I think you have, in radio, especially in the studio, when that mic button goes on, it's a different kind of persona.
Yeah.
And same thing when you're cutting your interviews, you start getting into like the Macho Man, the Hulk Hogan voice.
That's right. Well, it's Macho Man right here. And all of a sudden it becomes, you're exactly right. Because when the red light goes on and you're live, now it's, let me tell you something, brother. And meanwhile, soft spoken off the air, just like a lot of radio DJs are.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, hey, because you're trying to get that hype energy to give out to the listeners.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. It's after I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, I know a lot of wrestler/radio people. That's a show by itself, which I'm going to do a whole, I have to bust out some wrestling comics for all that. So after radio, you had some fun with it, I think 2-3 years probably at the station?
Yeah. And then, I tried to keep my foot in the radio door because, it's a hard, once you get out of it, it's hard to get back in.
The longer you're out of it, the way harder. I learned that one.
Ended up, by chance getting into films and more acting. So wanting to do voiceover and somehow building an acting resume so I could do voiceover and still acting, still doing voiceovers.
Well, I think it's great that you're one of the few that said, I'm going to be behind the mic and then be like, you know what? I'm pretty damn good looking. Put a camera in front of me. Most of us are like, no, we're trolls. How dare you put a camera in front of me? You're like, no, I'm going to be an actor.
I didn't go out saying, oh yeah, put me in front of the camera because I can be a leading man or anything. No, it was like, I'm 6'6", so I was like, there's got to be like some college film student making horror movies. They need a killer.
That's true.
And it wasn't until a couple of years ago during the pandemic that I was actually finally cast as the killer in a horror movie. Other than that, I've been killed several times. I've been lots of other roles, but it was just weird how that kind of worked out.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, when you got a good look, so that was a big part of it, and realizing what you're working with. I remember when I did that Chicago Fire Extra thing, and they said, we're looking for bald white guys. Okay, I'm a bald white guy. I'll do this. And then as soon as I get there, they gave me like a skull cap to put on. I'm like, hey, like what gives? It was almost like you wanted this shiny bald head. All of a sudden you want me to cover it up. I felt that I was used and abused. And I collected my $120 in 3 meals, and I just called it a day. And
so I remember doing an episode of a show called Evil Kin, which is on Investigation Discovery Channel.
Okay.
And they actually, because it was about two brothers that became very, very religious and then became neo-Nazis and killed their family. Yeah, unfortunately, not a happy story.
not a happy story.
But they cut our hair on set.
Oh, so did they shave your head, or did you have? Or...
They shaved it pretty close, and the PA was like, "Yeah, that's good enough." And the cameraman was from Germany. He's like, "No, it's got to be shorter." And the PA was like, "No, that's good. That's good."
Wow. Like, shorter. And they're like, hey, listen, come on, man. That's how accurate to the portrayal does it need to be, I guess,
Right.
So knowing what I know about you and your love of all things like horror and goth, I mean, at the river, you were like this mad scientist. I remember you were like serving up like googly eyes for Halloween. And I'm like, when I'm thinking about who I'm going to have bug wars, because after reading this comic, I was itchy. I was like, man, I feel like there's ants and beetles like on all my crevasses of my body right now. And I thought Nate would be a good pick. Also, just happenstance, the day you messaged me about Comics FM, you're like, hey, I'm checking it out, it's really cool, was the day I bought this comic. So I'm like, you know what? It's almost too perfect. And I will say this, there's one downside because I had this mailed to you and you didn't get a Comics FM sticker. So that's going to have to come in the mail and you will get yours. Normally it's one of these inside one of these. And that way, that's another way I get people to force them into this show. Because listen, I bought something for you and I gave you a sticker. You have to do it. If I bought something, you have to do it. So now I got to get you your sticker, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, anyone watching that wants a sticker like that or a mug, check out comics.fm. You can buy all the merch you want, and you can even help the show. Things taste better. Listen to this. ASMR, things do taste better on here.
That is a tasty beverage.
This is a tasty beverage. So Bug Wars, written by Jason Aaron, who is currently doing the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, which I also love, a really great take on that. He's becoming one of my favorite writers. Art by Mahmoud Asrar. He's doing a phenomenal job here. This is, I just want to show, I showed a little bit of this book on one of my little short episodes, on my little 1-minute reviews, but look at this war scene for a moment here. And it's pretty badass because it's ants against beetles, but it's all going down in the backyard. And did you feel like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of moment?
Absolutely. And I wanted to mention that is very like Honey, I Shrunk the Kid meets D&D.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's these armies of, you know, basically if you were ever playing make-believe as a kid, and now it's like taking it a step further because I remember Community did The Floor is Lava, and these kind of like games you had as a kid. But literally to have a battlefield in the backyard where there is mass slaughter going on here. And it was pretty great. I really love, there's a moment in here where besides the war scenes, but basically, I don't want to give too much away, but there is some activity with like spray cans, you know what I mean? Like spray and raid and whatnot, because now you have real people, full-size people, and then the ants and the beetles having their war there. So did you like this comic?
I did. I wasn't sure what to expect. After the first couple pages, I was like, I can get into this because, like I said, it is very much like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids D&D type thing. I was like, okay, we got this faction over here versus this faction. It was like, let's see what happens. And then it like after all that, and I'm waiting to see, get some catharsis from this epic war. And it's like, oh, hey, back in the human world. I was like, what?
Yeah, back in the human world. And then there's stuff going on there. So this family moves into this house there, and it's the father's old stuff there. He's gone now. And basically they're kind of digging around. One son is kind of a bully. The other one gets bullied by the other one there. So there's a lot of that going on. And meanwhile, there is a whole war being waged in the backyard. And there's just a lot of really cool, you don't see this often. You don't see like epic battle scenes along with we're inside of a house going through like old stuff and what are we going to find and all that. I can't wait to see where they take this. I just picked up the second issue, just came out recently, and I haven't not read it yet, but this is a brand new series. You can get it at your local comic shop right now. It's, it's still current. It's only a couple, 2 months old. So basically it's going to be there. If not, have them order for you or get it online. But I don't know how long it's going to go for. It could be one of those 6-issue series, and then that's it, like they do a lot of things now. But this was like, plotting out like sort of like the war and the battle in the back there. It's like so much cool, like, the wild weeds, we got the tall grass, we got the mowed lands, the mowed lands, because of theory that was mowed as opposed to the rest of it there. The old overgrown garden over there. So like literally battle maps inside. It feels like a kid making up this. And that's kind of where it was inspired from, Jason Aaron basically growing up in an area where he had a lot of little friends that he didn't expect crawling around his house and writing stories about them. Thought it was pretty great there. I enjoyed this y'all haul. Like
the y'all haul, that bottom
pods.
That bottom panel there on that page right there. For whatever reason, even when I was reading it, gave me Lost Boys vibe.
Oh, definitely. Because it's like it goes into human world, and now you're wondering like, where's this going to go as well? And then obviously something happens in the comic, and you can read and see what happens there. To how do you merge these two worlds together? What kind of happens from there? Thought it was pretty great. Did you have like a favorite scene or panel from the comic?
It was that panel.
That one?
Yeah, like I said, even when I was reading it, it gave me a very Lost Boys vibe, because I remember, at least how my brain is remembering it, there is a shot when they're moving into the grandfather's house from the upper level where they're carrying the boxes in like that.
Yeah. I wonder if that was kind of inspired this, because it is kind of a double page kind of full wide shot there of that. Yeah. I bet a lot of inspiration from, kind of horror movies from the 80s as well in there. And yeah, I can't wait to see where it takes it all. It's going to make people think twice about cutting the grass, because it's like, who'd you just kill out there? They just kill a whole family. Did you kill a family out there? You're not going to want to cut that grass anymore. You like the comic. It's something that I think I knew you kind of would get into it. So thanks for checking that out there. It's not a superhero comic for anyone watching this. Part of why I do this show is not only to talk to my radio friends about comics and show a little nerdy side of them, but also to kind of show people that comics isn't always about Batman and Spider-Man. It's also, horror and mystery and thriller and all of that kind of stuff in there as well. However, with all that said, Nate, if you were a superhero, you're a super guy. Dare I even say a Superman? If you were a superhero, what would your powers be? What would be like the name of the movie? And then, of course, I know you're an actor, so you're going to want to play yourself. But it might be that angry German director who says you can't play yourself. You don't look like yourself. Who would play you?
So if we're talking about a more accurate, like, real life comparison, either Ron Perlman or Jake Busey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can see both of those. Yeah.
If I'm just throwing names out, Danny DeVito.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. Nothing wrong with that,
Just because. Or Steve Buscemi, just,
just because. Yeah, right. I would say accuracy fits those a little bit. Those are both, but especially Ron Perlman. He's a big dude, Hellboy, Yeah. And yeah, I totally forgot about Jake Busey, as well. I don't know if he did anything after Starship Troopers or not. I hope he did, but I don't know if he did.
Yeah, Identity. Have you seen him in that?
I don't think I saw that. No, is that good?
It's still an older movie looking back now, but yeah, it's got John Cusack in it and a bunch of other, worth checking out. Okay,
is Gary Busey in it?
No.
Oh, then it's not really worth checking out, is it? I mean, so what? So we got the actor down. What's your superpower?
Oh, I think it's just that. I don't want to necessarily say immortality, but just it can take a good beating.
Yeah, like somewhat of a regeneration, but really just more of just take punishment or not healing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say an accelerated healing, but just can take a beating. I had to think about this, but right before we started recording, I realized that the other year I had pitched a comic book idea to a friend of mine.
Oh.
And in my mind, it was loosely based on at least the character in my mind and how I was pitching it was based on me. Very Punisher-esque.
Okay.
But he's a mechanic, and like his wife just like up and like left him, took his daughter and just like left him, and now he's trying to get his daughter back.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of just goes around with like a tire iron, and
I like that. Yeah. What was the name of the comic?
I was kind of pitching the title Overdrive.
Overdrive. Okay. Yeah. Not Maximum Overdrive, though.
No, not Maximum Overdrive.
Not minimum. Maybe like middle of the road Overdrive.
Yeah. Oh, maybe even Redline. I don't know.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking like Grease Monkey, maybe.
Yeah.
Or like Monkey Wrench. So mechanic can take a beating. I love that. And yeah, there's a storyline with it. So, hey, I would green light that one. Well, let's get it on Netflix right now. If we can't get the comic going, we'll get it on. Everyone's getting something on Netflix. We'll make it on Netflix,
Yeah, yeah. And I think the friend I pitched it to wanted to set it in the 80s.
Okay. That's perfect.
Just, yeah. Just very kind of Tarantino-esque.
Okay. I like it. A little Tarantino, maybe a little Stranger Things mixed in all in there. I love that we're at the point now with the 80s where we're not that specific with years. It's just like, let's, like, I know Stranger Things, one of my friends was like, Ghostbusters did not come out at the same time. That, like, come on. It's kind of like the Goldbergs. We don't get into it,
Right.
It's just whatever. It exists. It's fine. You don't need to get into it. I love that movie idea. And obviously you have taken the radio thing, parlayed that into acting and all kinds of other modes of entertainment. What advice would you have somebody who wanted to either get into radio, TV, movies, or even just say, I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to start a YouTube? Any advice or cautionary tales for them?
Advice-wise, don't follow trends. By the time you start getting an audience, that trend's already on the decline.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do, and most importantly, do it for you. Like, even if you're the only one listening to it, you will find your audience, and you just work it from there. Like if you, in anything you do, have fun with it. Like if you come across as enjoying and having fun with it, other people will see that and they'll want to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's contagious for sure. And you're right about the trends. We're going to spend all this time. Let's put together a YouTube channel all about the Hawk Tuah girl. Right. And it's like, I'm sorry that ended 3 months ago. There's definitely, you got to do your own thing completely.
Yeah. And everybody's, whatever the trend in, everybody is trying to capitalize on that for the time it lasts. So the other advice I would say is network the hell out of any opportunities you get. Not only network, but foster those relationships. I was at a film festival out in Las Vegas a few years ago, and there was a panel, and the host had asked everybody, what business are we in? And people were like, oh, we're, creative or entertainers. And or filmmakers, and he's like, oh yeah, those all good answers, and they're not wrong. We're in a relationship business.
Above all else, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The networking you do, you never know where it's going to lead, and everything connects to everything, and it's pretty wild sometimes how far that can get you just by being. And it's never been easier with social media and texting at our disposal. There's actually no excuse because there's no barrier to entry. Anyone can fire up a social channel or YouTube channel or podcast, and it's never been easier to actually interact. It's the time right now for any kind of content creation that you want to do, whatever you want to do.
And don't be a dick. I mean, obviously, like, don't burn those bridges. Like you said, you never know when those opportunities are going to open up with the people you network with. I've found myself going, what, how did I get here? Like, this is my life. Like, what?
And it's funny though, but you've always been a nice guy. And that is something that you're practicing what you preach there, because there's just, word gets around. It's just, and it comes off in your attitude too. So when you have the right attitude, the right mindset, it's contagious, just like you having fun is contagious as well.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to want to work with you because you're easy to work with. Because now, I'm not saying don't take any BS. Yeah. Obviously, stick to your guns when you need to. Don't let your ego enter the room before you.
Yeah, good point. And sometimes people have to get burned a couple of times to realize that, hey, you know what? None of us are all that. So just kind of have fun with it. Leave the baggage at the door, because we're all just people at a certain point. And some of it comes with age. We're talking about how the 90s felt like a week ago. Well, that comes with age too, is the average person in their 20s may not have the same mindset as somebody in their 40s as far as day to day how I should act and how it could help or hurt me in the future. You've done a lot both in film and radio. Have you had like one of those like celebrity moments where you meet somebody and either an actor or a musician, either radio or otherwise, where you're like, man, this is like a pretty cool interaction?
I think it was probably around 2009. I was actually doing some interviews at Wizard World Chicago, which I think is now rebranded as Fan Expo.
Or is it C2E2 now? Or
there is C2E2, but Fan Expo, since Wizard is now defunct, they rebranded.
Oh, okay, yeah. C2E2 started off separately, and then, but Wizard, because growing up in the Chicago area, that was our Comic-Con. Like, we're never going to go to San Diego. So to us, like, that was our Wizard World was our Comic-Con, and it was a big deal for a long time.
Yeah. So myself and somebody else who were some comic heads at ICB, Illinois Center for Broadcasting.
Yep.
We decided
they're not paying for mentions, by the way. You're not obligated to give them a shout out.
No, but to be clear, that this, because of that, this is how I got here.
Yeah.
We actually, under the guise of ICB, we went to Wizard World Chicago to interview people.
That's awesome.
Artists, and actually, interviewed Jake Busey that weekend.
Okay.
One of the artists I remember was just like, I didn't even realize he was going to be there. His name is Christopher Shy.
Okay.
And before I'd even gotten into radio or entertained the thought of ever doing radio, I had gone to like a Barnes and Noble and picked up an art book by Christopher Shy, and it said that he was living in Texas. I was like, oh, cool. And then here I am in Chicago and find out he's going to be one of the guests there. And I'm like fanboying, like inside, like, oh my God. And I got to interview him, and not only interview him, but also off camera, just genuinely have conversation with him and build a rapport with him.
That's great.
And such a like humble guy, like really down to earth, amazing, talented artist. And so that was like kind of early on.
Yeah. Well, it's also giving you, you said under the guise, but it's not under the guise, because you said earlier you went to ICB and it was what you put into it is what you get out of it. And you took it seriously. It wasn't just, hey, I got a free badge. You're like, I have press credentials now. People have to talk to me because I have a lanyard on, and you took it seriously.
Right. And what's interesting is that every year since that year, ICB has had a table up there.
Ah, you were the first though.
Yes. They realized that it could be profitable. Like, oh, hey, this is a trend. This is mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Well, because it's, I don't know how you got into ICB, but I heard a commercial on the Score, the sports radio station, 670 AM in Chicago. And I kept hearing the commercial over and over again. And hey, radio, it's repetitive on purpose with commercials, the frequency. And so seeing a booth there, they're recruiting people. They're like, hey, do you want to sit in this seat and then interact with celebrities? Because you can do that. You just got to enroll here,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those moments, because I know you've probably seen people like in the station before. Like, did Lisa Lampanelli come in when you were there?
Yes, Lisa Lampanelli. That was one of the ones I was thinking of, and I was like, wait, how? What? It was just one of those surreal moments. You walk in and it's like, who?
And you're like, she's in Aurora, Illinois right now, and.
Right. It's like, this is not the format to have her on.
No. Well, I will tell you quick. I'm glad you remember that, because my quick story with that is I was driving to my other job I had at the time, and I knew she was going to be in. I'm like, well, of course I'm going to listen. So I kind of driving slow. I want to make sure I hear the whole interview. And I'm thinking, working at the same station as you and I know, like, not only who it caters to, the suburban mom, but also knowing that there isn't a lot of, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like checks and balances. I don't even know if there's a delay that's active. You know what I mean? Like, and so
once or twice the delay wasn't on.
And that was probably one of those, because there was some very offensive things said. It was when I think Obama was running against John McCain, right? No, yeah. And Sarah Palin was the running mate. So and equal opportunity. She's making fun of everybody. So just before anyone gets, I can't believe this is on the radio happening right now. So the next day, because I was filming the morning show during that time. And so the next day, I remember going in before my other job, and asking Scott, I'm not sure if you were around, maybe you were busy, but I remember I was asking Scott and I said, hey, so you're still working here, right? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay. Cause that was like pretty rough. He's like, yeah. I'm like, any complaints, calls, letters? He's like, no. Like he was mad. No, I'm like, that's awesome. He goes, no, that means no one's listening. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Because he's like, hey, if there was a complaint, that means a bunch of people are listening. If the phone didn't ring, then it's like, wait a minute, how many people heard this? But I think that was just, I don't think that's really true. I think people did hear it, you know.
Some of those, sometimes you're hearing it, but you're not actively listening. So it's just like, oh, whatever. And it doesn't process like, wait, that was just on a radio.
Right. Yeah. It's not HBO. This is literally, she's saying stuff. Now, it wasn't the 7 dirty words, the George Carlin. So it wasn't like things that would get you kicked off, like, or fined by the FCC. However, it was a lot of, you know, racial and other types of things. It's just kind of like, well, hey, whatever. So it worked. I thought it was pretty cool though. Like I was like driving to my other job and the kids would say cringe today. Cause I was like in the car, like, oh, I can't believe she said that. And I was like squirming in my seat driving to my other job, worried if you guys are going to be there the next day.
But I think too, even I say back then, 15 years ago,
yeah,
you could definitely get away,
Seems crazy, right? That 15 years, it doesn't seem that long ago, but right. In the what is acceptable for outrage is right. It's like just 100 years,
just like the 90s and the 80s, what you'd say, and now it's like, whoa. Of course, the whole cancel culture a few years ago. So that definitely wouldn't have flown.
No, you were right at the tail end of when you can get away with this. So I'm glad you had that experience there.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of other stuff you're working on. What are some ways people can see some of the stuff you've got out there already or coming up or anything you want people to know about?
We've got an upcoming project that we are getting ready to launch our crowdfunding campaign, probably the end of April, early May. And that is for, I don't know how well you can see this.
I can see it.
Pulp Heroes.
Awesome.
And that is a live action series based on the pulp comic heroes of the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
That's great. Yeah.
But it's a modern take on it. So it's very neo-noir action, gritty.
You're not the serial killer, are you?
No. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel, which right now only has a teaser trailer on it.
Okay.
More content it will be coming. We plan to start filming in the fall.
Awesome. So the crowdfunding is to help get it made.
Correct. And it's like I said, it's a series, so it's going to be the whole first season of this series.
Awesome. Is this going to be like Kickstarter, Indiegogo? Where's this going to happen at? Or is it your own pocket, your own Venmo, which is okay. I won't say anything.
Eventually that'd be nice, that I could just like Venmo, hey, make this movie. For right now, though, we are looking to launch on the Seed and Spark platform.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with them. I know a lot of people are not because
I am not, but it sounds pretty cool.
It's usually there's it's either Indiegogo or Kickstarter. No, there is a crowdfunding platform specifically geared towards filmmaking, and that is Seed and Spark. Okay, and you can go to seedandspark.com or just Google Seed and Spark. There will obviously be links on our socials once our campaign goes live.
It's something that it's probably a better platform that's also more fair to what you're doing as well, because just because the other ones are more well known doesn't mean they're, quote, better for that particular project either.
This is true. I've spent the last 2 years researching crowdfunding.
Okay. You should have had a crowdfunding to fund the research of crowdfunding.
Yes, to get, to grant the,
You need a grant. Like, listen, I want to do some research on this, but I need to do the thing to get them. It's That,
Yeah.
you know.
I have, there's a bunch of red tape with the Vogons.
Are you going to have levels where people can not only contribute, but have some kind of active participation with it?
We want to definitely maximize our community engagement and participation, whether that's through reward or just via social media. Mm-hmm. We want everybody to feel like they're a part of this world.
Yeah. Not just the big spenders.
Right. And dare I say, yes, we have this series that we're trying to launch, but it's not just like, oh, once the series is done, that's it. No, we would like to make this into a graphic novel. We
Awesome.
have already had talks about turning it into a tabletop RPG.
Oh, sweet.
So it all starts here, and then even beyond just the Pulp Heroes project, we want to do other genres. So this is where it all starts. This is basically the ground floor. Yeah. This is the perfect time to get in and see what we can do.
Yeah, it's the initial part of the source material that other things are going to then bounce off of, and then there could be other errors as well. So that's awesome. I'll definitely put a link out there. I'll put something on the screen. I think this works if I just put my fingers like this. I think like the producer, which is also me, puts a thing on the screen right there. I think that's how that works.
Because on my end, it just looks like you're poking me in the head.
Oh, that happens too. Remember those Encyclopedia Britannica commercials in the 80s? And the guy's like, where's that number? He's like, excellent. It's going to be like that. And it's going to be excellent.
So one of the lead characters in our Pulp Heroes series is the Black Bat.
Oh, okay.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. Little teaser there.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty great. This is something that, instead of participating in a lot of other people's projects, this is also one of your own that you can kind of take ownership of and put your all behind it, which is always great to see. Like we said earlier, it's all part of that advice. The things you said, networking, be cool, be open-minded, all that kind of stuff. And I love that Pulp Heroes. Nate, obviously you're one of the founding fathers behind it. There's some other shout outs we got to talk about though, right?
Absolutely. The first one I'd like to mention is a Southtown comic. It is an independent comic book. I believe issue 2 recently came out. I know I'm expecting my copy any day now. It is a cyberpunk type comic.
Okay.
And it's right out of Richmond, Virginia, which is about an hour from where I live.
Awesome. Southtown?
Southtown, yep. And you can just search Southtown comic on the socials and find it there.
No relation to the POD song Southtown, though, correct?
No.
Not even close?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Hey, I'm always looking for a connection to get POD into more. I haven't heard a lot from them lately, and I kind of miss those guys. Rock the Party, Southtown, Alive. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. I'm trying to get those guys some press. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I'd also like to give a shout out to Green Archer Comics.
Okay.
They've got a couple different titles. If you like that kind of older pulp hero, like Phantom, the Shadow type,
yeah,
old school comics, Johnny Dollar is one of their titles.
Nice.
It's very, very, noir detective.
Yeah. There's definitely there's an audience for that, a modern day audience for that style. Because a lot of these things are kind of coming back, like the EC comics on more of the horror side, and people always wanting to have that throwback to like the golden and silver age of comics. So I think there's definitely an audience for that.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention some very good friends of mine, Stranger Comics.
Okay.
They're on the West Coast. They just launched a Kickstarter this past weekend, and they are killing it.
Awesome.
They've got a bunch of projects in the works, movies, other deals, but yes, Stranger Comics. Check out The Untamed by them. Niobe, She Is Life. Niobe, She Is Death. Very, very great comics, especially if you like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. It's that kind of fantasy world.
Awesome. Where there's a bunch of world building that goes along with all of it as well.
Huge world building. It's It all takes place in the world of Asunda, and it is the writing is it's you need to get an issue and have somebody review it. That's all I got to say.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like the challenge has been dropped. So all great recommendations. And obviously we're going to have everybody support your project, Pulp Heroes, coming up real soon. If there's anything else that comes up, definitely let us know. Comics.fm is a place where you get to hear people that I met on the radio. You know, we have these microphones. These are like actual microphones, by the way. This is like real life microphones. And when you talk in a microphone and you talk about a comic, I'm going to fall off my chair here, and you talk about a comic like Bug Wars. So now it's radio people talking comics. That's what we do on comics.fm. Follow on all of the socials. There's a lot of just quick videos, 1 minute reviews. I go and buy a wrestling action figure or whatever, but obviously the meat of the channel are the interviews like this. Check it out. Audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course on YouTube, comics.fm is the channel. Nate Nelson, thank you. Dante Dread in some circles, by the way.
On social media.
In the ring anytime? Going to go back in the ring anytime in the future?
I do know a wrestling promoter in West Virginia, and she keeps asking me to shake off the ring rust. Mm-hmm. So maybe there'll be some Pulp Heroes cross promotion that way.
There we go. Well, if you're at Wizard World and you're at a table, if you set up the table, you go through the table. So if you're sitting at that table at Wizard World and you're like, hey, I'm signing autographs here, Dante Dread, you're signing autographs until somebody puts you on there, but they got to get you up there first. That's the hard part. Awesome. Nate, thank you for being on comics.fm, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Yes, thank you.